Then you'll, okay, now go ahead and introduce.
Good evening, everyone. Today, Sunday evening, we are here for again continuation of our previous topic of Medica Pura. We are on medicine Asarum, and we have Tikwa Sasun from Israel, and we have Shivkumar also here. Shivkumar, show up yourself. Yeah,
He's a hard.
say hi to
he's-
it. Okay, Tikwa, over to you.
Okay, so we are in Materia Medica Pura as per the 10-year program. And we are continuing and finishing Asarum today. Okay, we are going through the proving data piece by piece. So we are on proving number. We need to bring up our PDF. And we need the PDF to be big enough for me to be able to read it. Okay, what symptom number are we starting with today, guys?
200.
Okay, so we have proving number 200. You see, this is how Hahnemann's provings read. And they go through.
Can you just, Tikwa, can you just give a little bit brief introductory part of this Asarum? So we have all new people over here.
I think that would be a perfect thing for you to do because I have to read all this. So you go ahead and give a introduction
No,
of
no,
what
no,
we've learned so far. No, I really want you to do that.
just few lines, few lines.
Go ahead.
No, 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 I am asking you.
And I'm asking you.
Yeah. Or just continue.
That means you're not able to. Okay, so Asarum is Asarum europeum, which is the juice of the whole plant mixed in alcohol. And then the beginning, there's a large introduction. And every introduction that Hahnemann makes is extremely interesting with valuable information. And there were old time sources who mentioned that Asarum is valuable to cause vomiting. So allopathic physicians were using it in a similar manner to, let's say, Ipecac in order to cause vomiting in a patient. But Hahnemann says, wow, when we actually do a proving and study this medicine, its utility is way beyond an emetic. It is way beyond an emetic. It has tons of different important symptoms where we have different types of stupefaction, inability to think properly. There's a bunch of different types of headaches and a lot of digestive symptoms, of course, which we would think if the old school authorities were considering it similar to Ipecac, we would clearly see various digestive symptoms, but there's much, much, much more. There's different kinds of, there's symptoms throughout the whole body. And it's taken us 2 weeks to go through Asarum, which is a pretty small remedy that people don't commonly use on a daily basis, but might be quite indicated, and we might be missing the mark by missing out on using some of these remedies. Okay, so yeah, there's chest pains, there's problems with respiration, there's paralytic pains in the back, there's muscles of the neck being tight and painful. And we are going to start up today with proving number 200. Occasional twitching tearing pains in the upper and lower extremities. 201.
Tearing.
Yeah, tearing pain. Remember what tearing pain is, guys? As if it were torn. To tear is this. It feels like it's ripping. This is the word tear. So when there's tearing pain, it feels like something like this is happening inside the body. Okay, bruised feeling and sometimes transient painful tearing in the upper and lower extremities, and painful sensation in the hip, and then in a bold in the right hip, and obtuse aching. Obtuse means that it's not a fine symptom, that it's not small in location, but it's rather bold. So you've got the right hip and you have a largish region of the right hip that aches. Aching pain is different than stitching pain, which is different than burning pain, which is different than paralytic pain, right? We have all these different types of pain and sensations. And remember, when we put a sensation, a location, and a modality and a concomitant together, we get some, that's how we select a remedy gently. Okay, so then the next one, in the head of the left thigh and beyond, especially when walking, a drawing, tensive pain. So there's a sensation of tightness, tight, and it's drawing. Drawing means what? What is a drawing pain? Pulling. Yes, go ahead. Explain that. Who's that here? Is somebody going to talk about drawing pain?
Kumar?
It's like pulling, ma'am.
Yeah, like pulling.
It's like withdrawing, like this, pulling.
So in the hips, a drawing, aching pain when walking also. So the one before that is the top of the left thigh and beyond. So it'd be the region of when walking, a drawing, tense pain. So it feels constricted, it feels tight, and it feels pulled and tight. And then in proving number 205, in the hips, a drawing, aching pain when walking. So we have, some kind of like, arthritic perhaps symptoms if we use a named disease. So we have drawing, a pulling, and an aching when walking. 206, when walking or moving after sitting, as also when touching. A dull pain in the hip joint and in the middle of the thigh. Okay, so that adds even more. We have walking and moving after sitting. Also worse when touching. A dull pain in the hip joint and in the middle of the thigh. So we have problems in Asarum. The provers are having problems with their hip joints. But we don't think about Asarum when people have tightness, pain, or tearing sensations in their hip joints, do we usually? Sensation from the right hip joint to the knee, as if the limb were going to sleep. So this is only from on the right, this is on the right side, the hip joint to the knee. An insensibility, a numbness, like it falls asleep. You know how there's like when your leg falls asleep when you're sitting, guys?
Numbness.
Yeah. numbness. Mhm. Okay, so then the next one, when he treads, treading is walking. That's the motion of the steps of the feet. Treading, treading. This means walking, like a treadmill. So while walking, he has a violent pain in the hip joint and the middle of the thigh, and the limb is as if paralyzed by it. He cannot tread properly. So there's difficulty walking due to pain in the hip joint. Okay, go ahead and mute people. Okay. I see a whole bunch of people left. This must not have been very interesting. Okay, when he's having trouble walking because there's pain in the hip joint, he says violent pain. Violent pain means severe. Severe pain in the hip joint and the middle of the thigh. And the limb is paralyzed by it. He can't move the limb and can't walk properly because of the pain in the hip joint and the thigh. And it's quite severe. Next proving number, sudden digging pain in the upper muscles of the left thigh. What's a digging pain? What happens when you dig? You get out a shovel and you need to dig a hole. Sanjay, what's digging? Okay, a digging pain means that it feels like it's being scooped out. You know, like how you dig a hole with a shovel. 210, tearing, shooting pain in the left thigh. So this time we are combining the tearing sensation with it moving from place to place in the left thigh. 211, spasmodic contraction of the muscles of the right thigh near the knee, which goes off on stretching out the leg. When it says goes off, improving data, that means that it stops. So the spasmodic contraction, the tightness of the muscles of the right thigh near the knee stops after stretching out the leg. While doing a proving, when we have a symptom, while something happens, we need to try different modalities. This is how we ascertain what the modalities are of a symptom. So when somebody's doing a proving, they get a pain, let's say in their hip, they're supposed to try sitting, standing, walking, laying down, and other movements to see which ones make it better and worse. And this is how we get our modalities. And our modalities are very, very important in our case taking, to ascertain the modalities, to then match to the appropriate proving data. Okay. A drawing on the tendons of the hoe in the evening while lying in bed. Okay, that is like a region kind of the upper thigh. And there's also a clucking. The sound of clucking is like cluck, 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 like chickens do. And that, when that's translated from the German to the English, that means that there's kind of like a bubbling sensation, clucking. It's like a kind of feeling, like a bubbling kind of thing in the area. 215. Violent tearing stitches in the knees on moving and at rest. So there's a lot of different symptoms here of hip and leg and now knee and the thighs, right? Fatigue of the thighs on going upstairs for many days. Exhausted feeling in the thighs as if he had not obtained rest by sleep. Feeling of weakness in the knees with visible staggering. When walking, he does not take great care. And this one gives the notation after 15 minutes, and it's done by staff. So here's weakness in the knees with a visible staggering. That means that people can see that he's not walking straight. But it's better when he tries very hard to walk straight. Exhaustion and bruised feeling of the thighs and knees, as in a fit of ague. That means, you know, when people have a fever and they have an influenza, ague is a different word for influenza, an old-fashioned word. So this prover has a bruised, exhausted feeling in the thighs and knees, as though he had flu. 220. Restlessness in the left knee joint, which forces him to move. Above the right hoe, a pressure as if with some hard, blunt substance. The left leg is as of asleep, and the foot as when very cold, insensible, and as if dead. Okay, so there's like a sensation of cold, as if very cold. So when people live in cold climates, their limbs get cold and they become numb. It's not uncommon to have numb toes while walking in the snow and that kind of thing. In the left tibia, sensation as if bruised. 225. In the sole of the foot, quick shooting pains. Okay, now we're on the bottom of the foot. A drawing in the toes in the evening when lying in bed. So there's like a contraction, pulling of the toes when laying in bed. On both feet, the little toes are painful as if frozen. Which toes are the little toes? It means the ones on the exterior, the little ones, the little foot fingers, as some people call them in some languages. On both feet, the little toes are painful as if frozen. Okay. Oversensitiveness of all the nerves when he thinks, which he cannot help doing constantly, of someone scratching gently with the fingertip or nail on linen or something similar. A very disagreeable sensation runs through him, which for an instant stops all his thoughts and actions. After 11 hours, that is a very interesting one. Let's see if we can get a piece of fabric here and see what that's going to be like. Okay. Okay, if somebody takes their nail, their fingernail, and does this, we hear this? Do we hear it? Feedback there, anybody? Scraping on fabric. If someone's scratching like that with their fingernail, a very disagreeable sensation runs through him, which for an instant stops all his thoughts and actions. So this sound of a fingernail scratching fabric is so bad that it stops all thought and action. This cannot be tolerated. Okay, 2:26. After dinner, great fatigue. What is fatigue? Anyone? Fatigue? I'm sorry, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself to talk.
Are you asking?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here just talking to myself to a blank screen with no participation whatsoever. Partner.
Okay. 230 symptom number. Every afternoon, great exhaustion and constant yawning.
Yeah, but I think the one about the fabric and the fingernail is very interesting.
Oh,
Did you hear me scratching on the fabric with my fingernail?
yeah, this symptom
Yeah, but did you?
oversensitive to all nerve when he thinks, which he cannot help constantly, of someone scratching gently with the fingertip or a nail on a linen or something similar like this.
Yeah, but on linen, linen means fabric.
Fabric, yeah.
On fabric, just like I was showing people. Here we've got fabric, and we've got my fingernail. The sound. Did anybody hear it? I don't know if it's too quiet, but anyway, that's a really interesting symptom.
Like this.
We can't hear it from here. Maybe nobody can hear mine either, but that's what it means. And that's very, very interesting.
And that sound is very disagreeable.
Yes, that means it upsets him.
Sensation runs through him, which for an instant stop all his thoughts and action.
Mhm.
Okay, 231.
But that's fascinating that sound, and it says that he thinks constantly, but this sound is so upsetting, so disagreeable, so distressing that it stops all thoughts and actions, even though he's been thinking constantly.
Laziness, slowness, and dislikes to all work. General feeling of exhaustion, something bluish feeling. Agility of all limb. He does not know what that he has a body. What this means.
It just feels like
Agility
all limbs, that he has
all
all
male.
limbs.
He does not know that he has body.
I think it seems that the limbs are so movable and so agile that it doesn't feel like he's a real body, but he's more like just limbs.
Mhm. When walking in the open air, the headache, uh, heat of the cheek, and sleepy crossness goes off.
And we remember what
Means
goes
it
off means?
stops. To stop.
Yes, exactly.
When walking in open air, he seems to be floating like disembodied spirit.
That's another very
When
interesting
walking,
one. What's a disembodied
when
spirit?
walking in open air, he seems to be floating like an disembodied spirit. Means bodiless spirit.
Uh-huh. Like a ghost, right? You see like a cartoon of a ghost floating in the air?
Oh, yeah.
What would you call a ghost in Hindi?
Frequent yawning.
Oh, still,
Towards evening, he became
I was still on this symptom.
okay. When walking in open air, he seems to be floating like an embodied spirit, disembodied spirit.
Yeah, so what is that in Hindi? What is that?
It means like when walking, he feels like a bodiless spirit, like
Yeah,
that.
what is it in Hindi?
Something
For all our Hindi speakers. What's a ghost in Hindi?
both,
Okay, it's like that.
both. Uh,
It's like that.
towards evening, he becomes so weak with sick feeling that when he sits upright, he feels as if he could every moment succumb and die. He must lie down in bed. Means he is so exhausted towards evening, feels so weak and sick that he sits upright. He feels he could every moment succumb and die. What this mean?
That's a good one. Yeah, he feels like he's gonna die any minute. He feels so bad that he thinks he's going to die any minute. And he must lay down in bed. He just can't stay awake. He can't stay sitting up. He clearly can't walk. He must lay down because he feels like he's going to die.
Mhm. In above, we see two, three symptoms that he has lot of trouble walking. Lot of trouble walking in air, walking in open air. There is agility of limb, general feeling of exhaustion. There is in the limb, and now due to this, towards evening, he becomes so weak with sick feeling that he sits up. When he sits up upright, he feels as if he could every moment succumb and die.
Mhm.
Means there is no energy to have any of the action, and he must lie down in bed.
Exactly. Very, very good.
Great, very great drowsiness by day after 12, 13, 14 day. Very long after means after long time these symptoms comes. 12,
Yeah,
13 after 2 weeks, 10 days, like that.
yeah, which is a very neat.
Drowsiness and crossness. On alternate night, restless sleep, he cannot readily fall asleep. Why this symptom is in bracket?
What does a
Means
bracket
no,
mean?
the complete symptom is in the bracket.
Do we remember what that means?
Mhm.
Do we remember what that means?
Is it reference?
Nope.
Then
It's a questionable symptom. Hahnemann wasn't sure if it was an absolutely pure symptom or a not so pure symptom. So he kept it, but put it in the brackets for later thought. So anytime we have
okay.
something with brackets like this one says on alternate nights, restless sleep. He cannot readily fall asleep. The prover is not certain that it is an action of the medicine or if it's something else.
Okay. During sleep, such a violent shooting in the dorsum of left foot that he dreamed he got a stab during application of blister. On awaking, he felt nothing.
Okay, this proving is that one's really weird because it doesn't have context nowadays.
During sleep, such a violent shooting in the dorsum of left foot that he dreams he got stabbed during application of blister. On awaking, he felt nothing. Means all that pain he feel in sleep.
Back in the Hahnemann's day, doctors used to sometimes blister people on purpose. That's what it means by application of a blister. So he felt like he was having a blister applied. For therapeutic reasons, they thought it might be helpful to blister people back in these times. And so he felt like he was being blistered by therapeutically while he was sleeping because the pain was so bad. But when he woke up, he felt nothing.
Mhm. At night, vexatious and annoying dreams of being put to shame. Dreams of shame.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Okay, so proving number 40,
242.
242. Okay, 242. In the evening, in bed, wait, no, okay, at night, vexation. Vexation is being upset. So he's upset and he's having upsetting and annoying dreams of being put to shame and other things. So that would mean that he's having bad dreams that are upsetting and annoying him, where he's being put to shame, where somebody is embarrassing him.
Mhm. In the evening in bed, an avulsion in the blood that prevent him going to sleep for 2 hours.
Hey, what's ebullition of the blood?
Ablution. This is new word. Ebullition.
Fibrillation is like a bubbling or a pulsating. It's like a bloop, 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 bloop. It has a sensation of his blood going kind of bloop, 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 bloop. And it prevents him from going to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then shaking all over body immediately. Slight shiver all over body after half and 1.5 hours. Shiver with loathing and nausea.
So this, we're in the fever section of the schema now. We just went through sleep in the schema. Now we're in fever in the schema. So
Mm-hmm.
there's shivering. What's shivering?
Shivering,
Mm-hmm.
like chills,
Yeah.
shaking.
Yes. If we don't know what these words are, we can't possibly select appropriate rubrics.
Rigor in the back, which comes on suddenly on biting a hard crust.
That is really interesting. Okay, so what's rigor?
It's again shivering, chills.
Yeah, it's chills, but with a stiffness. Like you've heard of the word, the words rigor mortis. Same word. So this is kind of like a stiffening.
Yeah.
And it happens when?
Spasms.
When it happens,
Spasm.
not really a spasm, maybe. But when does it happen? That's the really interesting part. What does it say there?
Rigor.
Then in the back, which
In the back. Which
which
came on sudden on biting a hard crust.
what's that?
Which come on suddenly biting a hard crust.
What's a hard crust? Anybody know what a hard crust is? Ever seen a piece of bread?
Hmm?
Has anybody here ever seen a piece of bread? Okay, guys, we have a piece of bread and we've made a piece of toast. Has anybody seen toast?
Almost everyone.
Okay, it's toast. He's got a piece of toast there. The edge of the toast is hard.
Yeah.
He bit the hard crust of the toast and he has rigor in the back.
Rigor is a little more hard stiffness. Shivering is like shaking.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Siva Kumaran. But that's
Okay,
interesting.
rigor and Rigor and chilliness without thirst. Uninterrupted chilliness, goose skin, hands and face cold, blueness of complexion. Goose skin,
It's like pumpy
Yeah, you
on
know,
the hair follicle.
exactly. You know, when you get a chill and you have a fever and you've got those bumps while you're shivering? I'm sure everybody's experienced it. The little bumps covering the body where the hair follicles are raised while shivering with a fever. Is there anybody who has not experienced that at some point? It's where the hair follicles are raised during the shivering.
all hair becomes straight.
Yeah, yeah. And that's called goose flesh.
Okay. 250. Hands are icy cold, but the arms and the rest of body warm, yet covers with good skin, and he is very chilly. Means body is warm and extremities, arms are cold.
The hands are icy
And
cold, but the arms and the rest of the body are warm. The hands are icy cold, only the hands. But the arms and the rest of the body are warm, but they have that goose flesh where the hair follicles and the hairs are raised, okay? But he feels very chilly. Hands are cold, the rest of the body is warm to the touch. He feels very chilly, yet he has those bumps that indicate that chill called goose flesh.
in the evening, rigors with extreme weakness, especially in the knees and sacrum, without thirst. Hands are cold, but the rest of body is warm as usual. Forehead, however, is hot. Same symptom like earlier, 250. But here, forehead is hot.
Yep.
Shivering with heat in the face. All day, all day long chilliness. When he sits still and lies and keeps himself covered, he feels nothing except a pain in the eye, pressure in the forehead, and on scorbiculus cordis. What is scorbiculus cordis? What is scorbiculus cordis? Often this word we came across in lots and lots of remedies in
In
Medica
the
Pura.
epigastric region.
Yeah, it's around the
Uh,
epigastric region.
yeah.
It's kind of like in the sternum. kind of like under the sternum in the epigastric.
Under the sternum, below xiphoid process in the epigastric region. That in that angle,
Yep.
that area is called epicordis cordis. And sometimes external heat. But when he moves about in the room ever so little or sits out in the open air without moving, he is excessively chilly. Almost, oh, this is very big symptom. Can you read?
All day long, chilliness. When he sits or lies and keeps himself covered, he feels nothing except a pain in the eyes, pressure in the forehead, and on the scorbiculus cordis, and sometimes external heat. But when he moves about in the room ever so little, or sits out in the open air without moving, he is excessively chilly, almost entirely without thirst. But when he walks quickly out of doors, or comes from the open air into the warm room, or when he becomes heated by animated conversation in the room, or when dinner, as also when lying in the warm bed, he feels well and warm enough, he has indeed some heat with thirst for beer. Okay, so this is a long, intricate one. So he feels better when he's covered up. And he feels worse when he's walking around. And then when he walks quickly out of doors or comes in from the open air into the warm room, or when he becomes heated by animated conversation, that means we're talking to others, or after dinner, when lying in the warm bed, he feels well and warm enough. He has indeed some heat and thirst for beer. So he's definitely better when laying in bed with blankets and stuff like that.
Yes.
Then we come to chill while drinking.
All big symptoms now.
Mhm. Just for fun for
Whole
you.
sensation,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
whole sensation on the body as if cold wind blew on him. At the same time, he felt cold to touch, almost always with his goose. After a few hours, warm return somewhat increase in the afternoon, with slimy mouth, dryness in the throat and thirst. Hereafter, the similar coldness, and in the evening, half hour, hour before bedtime. Again, increased warmth, which lasted in the bed, during which he must put his hand outside bedclothes, also with great dryness in the palate. These symptoms are very big symptoms, multiple PC concomitants related.
And this is why people rely on books of therapeutics.
We never see in Materia Medica such symptoms, but really very important. We see coldness sensation on the body as if cold wind are blowing on him. At the same time, he felt cold to touch, almost always with the goose. After few hours, warm return, somewhat increase with slimy mouth. Warm return
Slimy,
with
slimy, slimy.
slimy.
What's slimy?
What's slimy?
Yeah, what's slimy?
Anyone
What is
else?
a slimy mouth? That's important. If somebody comes complaining of slimy sensation of the mouth, we need to know what that means.
Slimy?
Mhm.
What is slimy?
What is it? Okay, let's say you get some soap and you wet your hand and you rub a bar of soap on your hand. Now your hand is slimy with soap. It means coated with something slippery.
It's like okra slime, like slippery.
Yes, slippery. Exactly. Coated with something slippery. So there's a ickiness in the mouth that's like it's
Sticky?
slippery.
Sticky?
Slippery. Slimy is slippery. So this person always has goose flesh, slimy mouth, dryness in the throat, and thirst. And then the heat increases while he's in bed, and he has to put his hands outside the bedclothes. Bedclothes means blankets. Okay? Everybody knows what blankets are. What's blankets in Hindi?
Blanket is blanket.
Oh, really? Before the
Everyone
Britishers,
use this word blanket.
but before the Britishers, what were they called?
There are multiple words in different languages.
But that's definitely a Britisher word to say blanket. Okay, so he has to stick his hand outside the blankets. And he has great dryness on the palate. The palate is the inside of the mouth, right? There's sliminess, there's dryness, all going on inside the mouth. Okay, 256. All day, long fever, in the forenoon, chilliness, which does not go off either by moving in the open air or by external warmth. After the midday siesta, external feeling of heat with internal rigor and thirst. So this prover is having fever all day. He is chilly before noon. It doesn't get better by moving in the open air or by external warmth. Not better by going outside, not better by sitting by the fire or anything like that. After he takes a nap in the midday, that's what midday siesta means. Whoop. Midday, we're in midday siesta here. We're having our midday siesta. You look like you're having your midday siesta too, huh? I'll just read from my book. Okay, so after he has his midday siesta, he has an external feeling of heat with internal rigor and thirst. So it changes after he naps. 257. When seated and not well covered up, or when he moves, there's immense chilliness. He's extremely chilly.
मैं उठी दादी क्या
So when he is seated and not well covered up, or when he moves, he's immediately chilly But when he covers himself up, he instantly becomes hot, though sometimes with rigor. So we have alternating heat and chills. After the cessation of the hot feeling, while heat of the head and face remains, chilliness comes on, so that he shivers on the slightest movement. So after the cessation of the hot feeling, after he stops feeling hot, while the heat of the head and the face remains, chilliness comes on so that he shivers on the slightest movement. Okay, so this would be hot, then the remaining
Chilliness and
face and head with chilliness, then so it's heat and chill, and slight and worse with movement. Heat, chill, worse with movement. These are like fever stages. Okay, we have just a few more and then we're done with this drug. Heat of the forehead and scalp. The rest of the body of a normal temperature, with shivering and chilliness without thirst. He's not thirsty. And strong and quick pulse. There's a strong and quick pulse. The body feels normal, but there's heat in the forehead and scalp. Shivering and chilliness, no thirst, with a strong and quick pulse. What does it mean to have a strong and quick pulse? You have to unmute yourself. After the chilliness, 260, symptom number 260. After the chilliness, a feeling of heat and actual heat, especially of the face and palms, whereupon the pains of the ear return. So this person is having, after the chill, heat, not just a sensation of internal heat, but actual heat, an actual fever that's perceptible by others, especially of the face and the palms. The palms are this part of the hand. And then he gets a pain in his ear. 261, feeling of warmth as if sweat would break out. So he feels so hot, he feels like he's going to start sweating. 252, unusual warmth of the body all day. 253, slight sweat only on the upper part of the body and the upper extremities. So he's sweating only from the upper body up. Okay. In the evening, in bed, immediately after lying down, perspiration. So he's sweating, immediately lying down in bed. 265, profuse night sweat. 266, warm perspiration, even when sitting still. 267, he perspires very readily from a slight cause. Now we come to the mind symptoms. Note how many mind symptoms there are. This is the mind section. 1, 2, 3 symptoms of mind. Do you think that might have some reason why people don't use this medicine very often? He's melancholingly peevish. That means he's irritable and kind of depressed and sad. Lacrimose. What's lacrimation?
Yes.
10, yeah, you're gonna have to anybody who wants to talk has to unmute themselves, because I didn't mute people again for making random noises for of people environment.
Lacrimose is VP sort.
Mhm. Yeah, lacrimation, right? Lacrimation is tears. He's feeling tearful. Lacrimose, sadness. Tearfulness. Tearfulness. So we have tearfulness and anxiety. Then 270, great gaiety after 6 hours to 12 hours. Alternating.
Gaiety.
And what's gaiety?
What is gaiety?
Happiness. Happiness. He's feeling very happy after 6 to 12 hours, alternating with calmness or even sadness for some moments. So he's very happy. And that alternates with calmness or a little bit of sadness here and there.
Okay. I think we are done here with
Yep,
this symptom.
we have completed Asarum, the drug named Asarum. We have completed it.
Yeah. It took 2, 3 sessions actually.
3 sessions.
Hmm.
And since
And
there's
very importantly, and very much what you call, ignore a remedy. How many people have used this remedy? Anyone?
No, still I didn't use.
Hmm.
I think I've used it once or twice. And you can see how old I am. Now, Sanjay, you said that you had a couple of people taking Iris Versicolor that you were going to have them try this drug instead. Have you done that yet?
Yeah.
What happened?
No, they haven't came.
Oh, they haven't come yet?
Hmm. But I can try this remedy. We miss this remedy. Um, we might prescribe some another like Ipecac or something else.
There's also a lot of pain in the hips and upper legs.
Hmm.
So we might think of it there too. And then there's that quote unquote gastric headache that shows up in this remedy as well. So I think that it could be used more often than what it is. And I would postulate that the lacuna of mental symptoms might be part of the reason why it's not more prominently used.
Most ignore remedy, right?
Mhm. Because if you're basing your
Okay,
prescription on mental state, you're not gonna find this remedy.
okay. Now you can stop recording.
I want to thank everybody else who joined us and participated. We always appreciate it, and we welcome people to comment and participate and assist with the reading, of course, because that can be quite difficult. And next week, we are scheduled to do what remedy? What's next in the 10-year series?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
This remedy is next. Asarum.
Yes. That's going to be fun. With our Metallicum, after we go through the introduction, we might need to do simply the bolds.
Again,
Otherwise,
most
it'll take a long time. Very important remedy. Well-known, important remedy. But we are going to see some things that we've never thought about in the remedy. Because that's what it means to read proving data. There are going to be things, nuances, and different things that we've never seen or thought about with these little tiny Materia Medicas, which are basically just digests of proving data. You know, you're going to open up your Boriki, and the thing about Arum's going to be, you know, yay big, right? But you're going to have page after page after page of information given to us by Hahnemann and his fellow provers. So join us next week. Thank you, and tune in again next week for Arum Metallicum.